When you visit our data center and you look around, you'll notice that every door is biometric only. What that means is we're using some form of fingerprint to access the data center. Every time a biometric action occurs, it flags the DVR. So it's going to keep an accurate accounting of all the activities of a coming and going. Once inside the data center, you're going to notice two major spaces in the back main data space. We secure or lock away all the connectivity into its own cage. You have to be granted access separately. So that way we're protecting all of the inbound connectivity and the routing. All the routers are in there and the core switches. We have 4 major carriers coming in on 3 separate fiber optic networks. In essence, what that gets down to is that every facet in the data center we want to have no single point of failure. We do our best to put multiple layers of redundancy inside the carriers and the routing. It's a choice we make, so no matter what, your experience, the performance, the ability to deliver, uptime, all of those things are kept at the absolute maximum. You'll notice with our data center that the entire space is raised flooring. The point of that is twofold. First of all, we do cable management under there, which is the networking and power. Also though, it's the management system for environmental. You'll see down the middle of the aisle, all of the tiles have holes in them. You bring cold air up from the floor, it goes into the front of the servers. We have 5 20-ton Liebert HVAC units, so we have 100 tons of cooling back there. It manages humidity as well as temperature. In the event of any type of fire, there's a chemical-based system under pressure. It'll disperse and rob the atmosphere of oxygen to the point where the fire will go out. So it's not intrusive on the equipment. Power is another thing. We have 3 power sources, but 2 different sustainable power sources. You have the street power, but beyond that, we have a generator. It is a 750,000 watt Kohler diesel generator. If the power to street goes out for whatever reason, there's a switch in the basement, and that switch sees the power went out, tells the generator to start, and it'll run everything. So not only in the event of a power failure could we run the entire data center, but the people can be here working. We can actually operate equipment, move around, we've got environmental control, that kind of thing. So it really is a totally self-contained environment. We have colo space here as well. You get the same protection. We have biometrics, the same security level, the same dry fire, leak detection, raised flooring, and then environmentals. So we're offering that as like a backdrop, and then the person can bring in their own rack, or we supply the rack. We can give them access to our connectivity. They can bring in their own. We can manage a firewall. They can bring in their own. That's what makes up Colo. It's their servers. It's something they are managing. We're a Microsoft partner. We have been for years. We're also associated to Cisco. We're also VMware. We're also SSAE 16 is what it's termed now. And it takes SAS 70 and it closes some of the loops. It isn't necessarily a certification. People might say that, but what it really is an audited compliance. So what you're saying is you're having a third party come in, audit what you're doing. These are the controls you have in place. This is how that works. And they're giving you essentially a scorecard to say whether you're doing it or not. And so we've been doing that for several years now. We do that not only just for our publicly held clients, but anybody. Every one of our technicians, when you get a hold of them, it's going to be more than just working through a script. We don't ever want that to be the case. We want them to be able to understand who you are, what your business is, what type of situation or setup you have. We're collecting a lot of information all the time and training and equipping our technical staff to be able to address that appropriately. Then we also have the other tiers, the higher level, where it needs to be escalated to a system administrator, something like that. Multiple system administrators on staff here during business hours all the time. So you can have a problem, send it in, email it if you can. If you can't, just call in. You're talking to the help desk guy. It's obviously something that's more complicated. It won't be, oh, we'll call you back. Hey, hold on. Put you on hold. Go get the right person connect you with them right then. The goal here is to respond to you quickly, to understand the urgency of it, and to get you back on track. We are not interested in closing your ticket just to get it closed. We're only interested in solving the problem, period. When Mike and Dan and myself really began to formulate what we're doing here, it was always centralized around customer service. We're not interested in delivering only a encapsulated single event to that customer. Every time they click their mouse, every time they launch their desktop, every time they open an email or reply, from a file restore to everyone, all of those experiences to be absolutely seamless.